Welcome then to Tanked Up, the podcast about video games and beer. It's episode 217. I'm Ben, here with Lucy.
Hello.
Hey, and
Hi.
Aadil.
Hey.
Hey. What a week it's been. Hey, another fucking week. Jesus Christ.
I don't know, I haven't looked outside, so I don't know how eventful or not it's been.
Don't, Lucy. Don't. Stay off social media. Don't look outside. Just hide. Just hide, drink some beers, play some games.
Yeah.
About right.
Yeah, we'll touch on things maybe a little bit later about what's been going on this week. But first, we're going to open some beers. Lucy, what are you starting with?
Other than tea, I'm going to start with a beer from, is it Puhaste? Where are they from again? Is it Estonia, Slovenia? Where are they from?
I was going to say Estonia, but now you said Slovenia. I'm thinking, I'm definitely wrong.
Eastern Europe. And this is the Tartu Pilsner. It's 5%, IBU 38. There's a 330ml can. No, it's in English, so I can't give you any flavour text. Apart from, maybe can I make out the country? No. Unfortunately not. Even with all that, no.
How's it spelt, Lucy? How's the brewery spelled?
U with, what do you call the two dots over that again?
Umlaut.
Yes, well done. I'm the linguistics graduate.
I did it in German once.
I've never done German, that's my excuse. Anyway, P-U for umlaut, H-A-S-T-E. Do so much prep and research into these podcasts.
Puhaste. Oh, it's a Puhaste. However you say that, it is actually a village in Estonia.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'd assume they are Estonian, but it does sound very German, doesn't it? It's like that Rammstein song, Du hast, but slightly different.
Yeah.
Yes. Good.
Yeah.
A Pilsner. Nice to start on something light. I'm going to start on something light as well.
Nice.
I am going to drink the Session Pale from North Brewing Company. It's 4.1%, and it's got, as always, smashing can up. It contains barley, oats, hops, and yeast. That is everything.
Yeah, I had 2 of those over the weekend.
Oh, nice.
Nice. 2 no less. No less.
Yep.
One after the other?
No, I think on separate days.
Okay. That's fair. Aadil, what are you going to drink?
I've got this Lupulus 10 from Buxton. It's a Simcoe Indian Pale Ale. Lupulus X is an experimental single hop program. Every beer has the same recipe, only the hop changes to deliver a distinctive flavor burst. And so this is their 5.4% Simcoe of the Lupulus X. I guess it's X, maybe it's 10. I don't know. Well, I thought it was 10, and then I realized it was like a series, and I was like, maybe they've done 10 hops?
Or maybe they're doing 26.
Yeah.
Yes, they've gone through all of those letters instead. Right, I mean, were all of them normally numbered as well before they switched to the...
it's my first one of them, so I have no idea.
Was there 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then suddenly it's gone to X? Who knows? No one. There's no way of checking, as Lucy would say.
You know, why didn't they use Roman numerals for the Xbox 360?
What would 360 be? CCC?
No.
IX?
D's 50, isn't
No,
it? Or is
XI?
it L?
No, because that would be
L is
11.
50.
wouldn't it?
Yeah. So LX. So it would be
yeah.
CCCLX, I think.
What's D? Is that 100?
No, M is 100?
M is 1,000.
M is 1,000, right.
D is 500. Because
500.
C is 100. C is 100.
So we were right. It was CCCLX, which is now what I'm going to call it, the Xbox CCC.
We got there between the three of us.
Between the I of us.
Oh no. Lucy, how's the beer?
It looks like a Pilsner. It's very light coloured, just a bit darker than straw. Little bit of cloudiness to it, but it's mostly clear. There's still a lot of bubbles running up the glass, very carbonated. Pours a, really nice bubbly and frothy white head. Looks like a good beer, good Pilsner.
Lovely.
Smelling it smells like a Pilsner as well. Getting a little bit of sweetness on the nose. Getting that very malty, biscuity smell that you get from lagers and Pilsners.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice. It's not as crisp as I thought.
Okay.
Because it has got quite a bit of, carbonation still in it, but it's quite smooth and creamy taste to it. It's not sharp and crisp and very hoppy.
Mm-hmm.
It's more subdued.
I think it leans a little bit more into its malts rather than its hops, perhaps.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because you're getting that very light, almost lemony taste from the malts as well. So, and yeah, you're not getting a lot of hoppiness or a lot of carbonation bubbles and stuff like that. It's very soft and easy.
Interesting.
Maybe it's quite hot now, so maybe I would have liked it if it had a bit more zing and a bit more crisp to it. But flavor-wise, it's still on point. It's really nice. It really gets those like those Czech malts in it. And it's this is a really good Pilsner. If you want something that's lagery Pilsner, something like that, very German Czech style.
Mm-hmm.
This hits all those notes.
Nice.
Which is good.
Nice.
Good. Is it made even better by it being unbearably hot this evening?
Yes. It is pretty hot. Just wiped away the sweat before we started recording.
Oh, I know. I'm gonna have to do another episode where my sleeves are rolled up. I'm so hot. It's ridiculous.
You just gotta start wearing a vest to know.
Oh yeah, that's it. I'll get my vests out. They're in a box somewhere.
Your wife beaters.
Yeah, I got lots of basketball vests, so I'll start sticking those on. Not that I've worn them for fucking ages. Good. Anything else to say about the Pilsner?
No, I'm gonna knock it back because it's really nice.
Yeah, good.
Really good.
Nice. So North Session Pale. It's very, very light in colour,
oh, wow.
but still pretty solid. Not much seeping through there. A little bit lighter, sort of around the edges, perhaps. But the nose on it is super light. Really, really light. A little bit, slight bit of maybe fruitiness, a little bit of citrus, perhaps, but not much. I've had a couple of gins before this. I don't know whether that's affecting my, nose, but and again, that nose matches the flavour. It is very light in the flavour. Some citrus, maybe a little hint of orange. Something else, maybe a little bit bitter in there as well. Not big bitterness, not at all. And its lasting sort of flavour is maybe a bit of orange, maybe a little bit of grapefruit perhaps just in there. Touching a little bit of citrus as well, but not much. And that kind of bitter finish, which is not a bitter finish, not a big bitter finish. That just sort of sits above kind of everything. You can pick that out because there's not a huge amount going on. It's a solid flavour. It's very, very easy. There are those fruits in there as well, but they're really subdued. They kind of balance each other out a little bit, so nothing kind of really pushes itself. It is absolutely sessionable. It is a pale. I'm not sure if I said it was 4.1%. So it's very, very light.
Light in every way, in colour, percentage.
Yeah, absolutely.
Flavour.
What did you think, Lucy, when you had it? You had two, so...
Yeah, I thought the same thing. It's like, oh, this is lighter than I expect. It is like, you say, a session IPA, you're not expecting as much as like a double or even like a 6-7% IPA. But thought, because it's North, I was like, oh, I imagine that they'd still pack quite a lot of citrus and flavour in that. So it was very easy, and that's why like I drank two of the weekend. It's like, oh, I just want, you know, something that's light, that's sessionable. You know, let's go for the North Brew. But yeah, pretty much what you said, Ben. It didn't blow my socks off, but it was a solid enough beer. And just, probably lighter in flavour than I would have expected, but...
Yeah. Yeah. You do get a little bit more of that slight citrus note to it when you have a couple of bigger gulps, and obviously my palate has adjusted a little bit to it now as well. So you're getting a little bit more from it. But it's so light. So crazily light. And like Lucy's, this is going to disappear. Because it's just too easy. Beers are just too easy to drink these days. We'll have to start asking brewers, just for our own health, to start making slightly more difficult, undrinkable beers that we have to actually work at to get through. Aadil, how is the possibly series version of beers or Roman numbered beers? Who knows? Who knows what's going
on? First off, just off the pour, it wafted. That Simcoe came right through with its, slight like citrus mixed with a little berry, a touch of like earthy pininess, which actually made it sort of smell a little like bubble gum.
Okay.
There's
just with that like
ester,
citrus berry estery sort of thing. Yeah.
It's almost that. It's a very sort of murky kind of color to it.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, it's dark as all hell. Like it's not. It's hazy. Like you can see kind of the shadow. Of my finger. Although that might just be on my face. Yeah, it might just be the light. But yeah, it's like this like organic honey that's been sitting for too long.
Yes.
Kind of like crystallized.
honey.
It's very. I mean, it's exactly what you want on this this hot day.
Yeah.
It actually, the mouthfeel, it leaves you, finishes quite wet, but boy does those bittering hops just come in strong. Like it definitely makes me feel like I need another sip right away, which is kind of okay given that it's hot as fuck. Like I'm gonna want to drink anyways. But again, we're getting those, so less of the berry and estery, more of that light citrus and that earthy, slightly dank. In fact, it's kind of like, oh yeah, this is an IPA. Sort of Oops, shouldn't wave my hands when I haven't turned autofocus off. Might be. I'll remember to turn that off next time.
You're like that pixelated app.
Yeah.
They're going to depixelate it, you'll come out looking white. Like that. Did you see that? Like they put in Obama and they depixelated him, and he was like some white dude.
Oh really?
And they're just doing that with like several like black people, and it's like, oh, this is what happens when you get only white people working on machine learning programs.
Jesus.
So you're gonna come out. You're gonna come out like Ben with that photo you showed us, Ben, with you and that wig. That's what it's gonna come out.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, it's a good tasting, refreshing beer. Most of the taste is actually backloaded. Like it's kind of a little plain in the beginning, and then it sort of is like, oh yeah, and here's all this interesting bitterness, and here's a bit of a tension between that citrus and that earthiness. And the finish is quite strong and quite longish. Like there's still a bit of sweetness I can tell. I'm still feeling that earthiness. been about 20 seconds. But again, because it's primarily bitter, I'm not sure how long this is going to last because I'm going to want to. Also, because it's sort of got a really light foretaste, it's very easy to be like, I need to try that again. And so we'll see how long this one lasts.
Yeah, fair. Nice.
I will take a picture, though.
Very quick beers, I imagine, this week for all of us.
Yep.
So, we'll drink these, and we will chat. As we start off the show, it's been a week.
Oh, dear.
I mean, just the internet has exploded.
Yeah. Plug out your modem. Right
Yes, yeah, just take it out. The Last of Us 2 doesn't need internet connection, I don't think, unless you want to upload trophies or some shit. Just
Or
unplug.
take fancy pictures.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you can take the fancy pictures, you just can't share them.
We shouldn't be sharing anything in this age.
Well,
Let's not share opinions, let's not share photos, not share anything.
Who wants to start this week?
What, sharing their opinion?
The only thing we actually do on this show. Yes.
I can start, because I imagine we're going to be talking about The Last of Us in general terms later. Because I haven't finished it, Ben, you haven't finished it.
We have lives.
Aadil, you haven't started.
I haven't started, no.
Yeah, so we will talk about it, but just in more general terms. But I'll start because I wanted to talk about Little Orpheus last week.
Oh yeah,
which is an Apple Arcade game from the Chinese room.
Oh yeah.
Who did Everybody's Gone to the Rapture, and I think before that it was FIFA 1. I think that was the name of the game. Yeah, it's a completely different departure because their two previous games were like first-person narrative adventure games, like what you'd call a walking sim. And this one's a side-scrolling. Well, it's 2D-ish. You play on a 2D plane, but it's more 3D looking. And I'll get to how the game looks in a second. But yeah, it's a side-scrolling platformer. In the vein of something like, in fact, I wouldn't even say Inside, because Inside's more puzzle-focused. Whereas this is very much like narrative platformer. Like, imagine another world or something like that in 20 years later, looking really nice. But I played this on iPad, and this is probably like one of the first times, I just looked at the Apple website to see how much a Apple TV 2 is. So you can actually play it on your bigger screen. Yeah. I think it was like £170. I was like, absolutely not, forget that. Because I have the original version, and apparently, well, I don't know, I haven't looked into too much, but I don't think you can play games that way. But nevertheless, I just played it on my iPad, and it looks really good. It's a 3.3 gigabyte download mobile game. So they're packing a lot of assets into it, but it looks really good. Like, I took some like screenshots, and like just the lighting looks fantastic. Give a bit more context. It's like a serialized television program. It's split over like, I think it's 8 chapters, and it's basically about this Russian cosmonauts in this very like neo Soviet kind of look tinge to it, like sort of like comic booky almost. So it's a bit cartoony. It looks like a Saturday morning cartoon, and it's basically him recounting his mishaps and his adventures into like the center of the planet. I don't know what they're doing there. I didn't pay that much attention to that part of the narrative, but basically ended up into the center of the earth, and it's like the land that time forgot. There's like dinosaurs there's weird creatures and stuff like that, and it's him recounting to like a general, this happened general. He's with this very Russian accent. I think his name is Ivan Ivanovich or something like that. So
of course it is.
Yeah.
Boris Borovsky.
Yeah. So it's like, okay. But I think this game excels at like presentation. It's got like a score composed by Jessica Cory, who's a BAFTA winner before the Everyone's Gone to the Rapture, and it's got like this nice kind of weird Soviet twinge to like this symphonic orchestra kind of thing. The music's great. But yeah, the presentation as a whole, the package as a whole, I enjoyed the game, and I thought, this is beautiful, it sounds good, it's got a funny, there's tints of humour to the story. But in terms of the gameplay, I mean, the gameplay is probably the least exciting or innovative thing about it. It's just a 2D side-scroller. I hesitate to even call it a puzzle platformer, because you're not really solving that many puzzles. You're solving like one or two, which is just like, okay, I drag this box over here just to get up onto this platform and that platform. So there's not really much to it in terms of puzzling. But yeah, as a whole, I really enjoyed it. It took probably about 2-3 hours.
Nice.
And, yeah.
It's kind of the length you want from an Apple Arcade kind of game.
Yeah.
And how does it sort of... Chinese Room did Dear Esther before Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. I think Ether 1 was...
was that after Dear Esther?
No, Ether 1 is a different developer. Ether 1 is, I think, the people who did like Unfinished Swan, maybe?
No, I'm pretty... Unless I know the people who did Unfinished... I don't know. Maybe you're right, Ben. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Ether 1 developer.
They did Dear Esther and Everyone's Gone to the Rapture. Mats. And Amnesia, a Machine for...
Oh, Amnesia as well, yes.
White Paper Games did Ether 1.
Yeah.
So, yes. Ben is... he knows his history.
Well, while I was thinking about sort of what your gameplay and the gameplay and stuff like that, I mean, so their previous games, Everybody's Gone to the Rapture is, I suppose, form of a news game. It is just walking around experiencing different stories or different small scenes building up to one big kind of story. This obviously introduces other elements, other kind of gameplay elements, whether they are sort of light in those puzzle terms. I suppose the Chinese Room are known more for their storytelling than anything else. So I can see why maybe those elements didn't quite hit with you, or why maybe they were a little bit more sort of simplified, perhaps.
It's true, yeah.
Do you think this would have... because obviously it's an Apple Arcade game, whether it had a big kind of download, there's lots going on with it. Do you think it would have been better served if it had been a game for sort of console and those elements had been sort of fleshed out? Or does it just fit being on mobile?
It fits, because there's another game that's called Stella, which I think I talked about on this podcast, I'm pretty sure I did, which is basically the same thing. It's like a side-scrolling platform, it's a puzzle platformer. That's got more puzzling to it, but it's very much, we want to give you like the spectacle of it, and the way the camera pans and it changes and it zooms out and it zooms in. It's very cinematic, and yes, it's probably better served on something like, I can play it on a bigger screen, maybe on PC or on console. And it will come to those things eventually. I imagine, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty certain this is probably produced by Apple. So it's like, they'll put it out, and then, I mean, if you're getting because I think the Chinese Room folded a few years ago, and they got absorbed by Sumo Digital.
There was they stopped producing stuff, didn't they? They kind of went dark for a little bit, and I don't know whether they all just focused on individual stuff, or as you say, went and just did some freelance for Sumo or for someone else. But I know they struggled. They fell out, not fell out, but they had a bit of a tense working relationship, didn't they, with Sony, with with Everybody's Gone to the Rapture.
Yeah.
So
and I think maybe their next game didn't get funded, and funding fell through, and it wasn't plain sailing basically. So if Apple's fronting the money, you go to Apple.
Oh, yeah,
and it's
absolutely,
I don't know what the future is for that studio, but I mean, if they make games like this, and it's like, I don't know how much this game would have cost in terms of production and stuff like that, because like the animation's beautiful, like that kind of very cinematic but cartoonish look to it. It really pulls it off. So yeah, I don't know what's next for them, but I'd like to see it come to console and stuff like that, because it's fun. It's fun enough, and it's pretty, and this is probably the first time where I was like, ooh, because it was hitching a bit, the frame rate wasn't always steady. It was like, can I just turn down the resolution? And I was like, no, you can't do that, because Apple games have very, very limited options and settings. But I think it is a testament to the hardware, like, because I fired it up on like my iPhone as well. Like I think this is a good test bed for Apple and what they can harness in terms of like the future of games on their platform, because they did really, even though not a lot of people paying attention, they do really push like this is, you can put like console level games on our platforms, and that's well, I mean, these iPhones are powerful, but it's still impressive to see that on running.
I also think that's where they're pushing, because I don't know if you guys saw the Apple GDC that happened this week, that they're leaving the Intel platform and going to their own homebrew chips. And I watched part of the GDC specifically about the chipset stuff, and basically their point is, hey, right now you have power, processing power versus actual power use. And Intel and desktop computers are here, and laptop computers are here, but actually what they've been doing with the iPad and the iPhone is they're kind of up here in the sweet spot, is the claim of like high power,
they're just
computational power and low consumption.
They're just developing straight onto the chip, and it's just like there's no barriers in between. Yeah,
I mean, the whole point is they have their closed ecosystem, so they can do this type of thing, and it's more closed. It means they'll be probably less convenient, quick.
In terms of porting and stuff like that,
ports, etc. Like, I mean, but we already know, like, we already have Intel devices not being able to run a bunch of things because they cut off 32-bit if you upgraded the last thing. So, like, it now kind of makes sense that they were prepping everyone for it's our ecosystem or not. So
yeah, I feel like they've been pushing for that for like maybe the last 5 years, So maybe if Apple Arcade developers are going to be incentivized to actually do that, because Apple are throwing the money at them in producing these games, and then I don't know, in what Apple say, oh, here you go, produce another title, but it's not going to be Apple Arcade if that's not bringing in enough money, but here's a premium game for like, I don't know, $5.99, put that out on the store or something. I don't know.
It'd be interesting to see what happens kind of moving forward with this technological step by them. With this move, with Apple Arcade maybe pulling in more developers and things. I don't know how kind of as an industry it's sort of moving forward. We saw today on Tuesday that Ready at Dawn have now joined or have been bought by Facebook Gaming, or I don't know what their subsidiary of whatever they've come under, but Ready at Dawn are now going to be developing basically like Oculus games and VR games.
They've been third party for a while.
They've always been their own kind of development studio, not owned by anyone, throwing stuff kind of around to various different people. They didn't have a huge amount of success with the Order 1886, which came out on PlayStation 4.
Yeah, I think that was basically their Hail Mary, right? Like, when that didn't work, they went back.
Yeah.
I thought it was a good game.
It's a reasonable game.
It's Rise. It's pretty.
Yeah.
It was functional. I think the shooting was probably the worst thing about it.
Mm-hmm. There's much better cover-based
yeah.
shooters. Yeah, absolutely. The story was kind of
interesting. The story was interesting. I liked it, you know.
Yeah, and they've had much more success though with the kind of the VR games they've been producing over the last 3 or 4 years. So it kind of makes sense for them. But we're suddenly seeing, you know, as we kind of have seen Microsoft last year buying up a bunch of studios, maybe Apple are kind of starting to edge that way. Maybe not buying studios, but they are funding projects. So lots of studios become second party kind of to that platform, that they're not owned by Apple, but they're making exclusives for it, funded by them. So it will be really interesting to see kind of what the gaming landscape looks like over the next 5 years. With
10,000 different publishers, and you need to buy 10,000 different subscriptions to play.
Yes, exactly.
5 different games.
Or you end up going back to when we were, you know, single-digit ages or early teens, where you only played 3 games a year because that's what you could afford. And there was no save states.
3 games a year.
True. You're still living in the 90s, sir. And I applaud you.
At least there's a bit more accessibility that you can save your progress and turn it off these days.
Speaking of the 90s, finished Dino Crisis.
Yeah.
Still holds up. Still holds up. Still had a few jump scares. As I was saying, it suffers from the Capcom curse, where the second half of that game is not as good as the first half, but where's my Dino Crisis remake, Capcom?
I don't give a shit.
Just do it.
I don't give a shit, do they?
I don't.
They make Resident...
redheaded stepchild.
They make Resident Evil 8 The Village, then they make Resident Evil 8 The City, then they make Resident Evil 8 The...
How many Resident Evils
Countryside,
they're going to number until they say, this is a bit silly? Resident Evil, I say, they stop at 15.
So...
So in 20 years, we'll check.
Well,
I think they stop at 15.
I think they've done...
Will they stop, or will they just loop back around?
They're gonna find they're gonna find like words that fit like XI and XII.
Yeah. I was gonna say, how far do we go through with that? Because X is a really hard letter to fit into stuff.
They'll find it. What's next?
So 7 was kitchen, wasn't it?
Resident Evil 6 Siege. That's what.
No, we've done 6.
No. The IX is gonna be 9. And they're going to call it Resident Evil 6.
Right.
And it's going to be like a Final Fantasy thing.
Oh, Jesus. Hopefully.
Oh, no. 6 2 and 6 returns.
Or we just do what they did, and rather than jumping to that next number, we have that mid-game. Not a remake, but we have like Code Veronica. And now it will be like Resident Evil Leon's bathroom or something like that. I don't know. Something really stupid that makes no sense at all. Yeah.
They're making. I don't know why I thought of this. Maybe because I'm thinking of games that I want made. Thinking of Castlevania. They're making Circle of the Moon 2. Oh. Remember that 8-bit game that preceded Bloodstained Ritual of the Night?
Oh yeah.
Is this a Konami game?
No, it's Igarashi and his studio. Okay. I can't remember what they're called.
Who made Bloodstained?
No, they were the guys who made Bloodstained. Igarashi, he cracked his whip again, and they're making Circle of the Moon 2, which I'm very happy about because it was one of my favourite games that came out that year.
Very randomly, I don't know what it's called.
Curse of the Moon.
I did see Konami are making a new game, which is about a little skull boy.
Is it called Skullboy?
I don't think. I don't know. I don't know what it's. I don't know what I remember. Konami are making a new game.
Because there is a game called Skullboy that's coming out soon, and it's like it looks like Glover But
I don't know. It's a little. It looks like a 2D platformer with a small being with a giant skull for a head.
I mean, this sounds great. You said 2D platformer, so I'm on board. Skull Konami game.
You are also looking up Skull Konami game?
Yeah,
I
and
don't know, Skull game.
Skullgirls? No.
Skull Girls, you mean?
No, oh yes. Leah's got to me, I've got double vision already. Yeah, Skull game from Konami.
I don't know what you were talking about, man.
I'm not intrigued.
Well,
Keep talking. I'll find it. Oh no, I won't because I got no internet. Oh, I got no internet. What the fuck?
Well, you probably put it in airplane mode.
I have put it in airplane mode, but my Wi-Fi should be like on.
Oh,
how dare it? How dare
video
it
games. List of Konami video games. Oh my god, it's by platform. That's less useful when
Wikipedia. Shall I just go to Twitter and type in Konami and everything's going to say F Konami?
Yeah, it probably will, yes.
Pro Yaku Spirits 2019?
No, I'm sure there's a new game coming out from Konami.
We'll
research this. Let's move on.
Skeletak. That's the name.
Skeletak, that sounds right.
I mean, it fits the bill of whatever nonsense you were saying. I mean,
this looks cool. I've just seen like the cover art and I'm sold. So
yeah, you're ready. You're okay with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, Konami still making games. Just
they do.
Well, I mean, you don't know. Maybe this is a pachinko machine.
They put out mobile games.
That would be the big reveal. It will be a pachinko machine, just with a screen in the middle and the end of the skull. Human just runs across.
Yeah, as soon as you like hit attack,
it
flashes to a pachinko, and then you have to get a good score in
Oh,
order to get successfully hit the thing.
Oh, Konami, what's going on?
It seems like there's already been a Skeletak game before.
Oh, I mean, there probably
has. That like?
I know it came out 2nd of June.
Right?
Oh, it came out
2nd of June.
Oh.
On Steam, yeah.
Ooh.
Cool. Well, you know what
How
that
come
means.
nobody ever heard of it? What?
Skeletak, you say?
It's published by Konami. The developer is Yakuza. Yakuza with just a U. Yakuza Inc.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm unfamiliar with them.
Me too. It's got a 7 out of 10 on Steam, but
It's not bad.
I don't trust Steam reviews or Metacritic.
I don't trust Konami either, so we're in a
But that's
really
the thing.
good bug,
People
aren't we?
who don't trust Konami are probably saying, never even bought the game or played it, and saying, why isn't this Metal Gear Survive 2?
I'm too lazy to read it anyway. I guess of the negative reviews, about half of the ones I bothered to look at were basically that it's not quite worth $20.
Okay.
That it's just too short.
Yeah,
that's fair.
But like, it's mostly positive. But I mean, 19 reviews.
Yeah, but yeah, I'd have to look into the context of those reviews, because if it's anything like The Last of Us, we can't trust any of those user reviews. Well, we can.
It's all just Jim Sterling viewers just saying "fuck Konami" constantly on every review. Yeah. Your foray into Little Orpheus has reminded me that I actually started a game called Sky, which I think it's called Sky. I'll double check. It's a mobile game from that game company.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Which one?
Yeah, it is called Sky. From that game company who made Journey.
Sorry, which one? You know that's what they want, right? That's why.
I mean, absolutely.
I think it's called Sky Children of Light or something like that.
It may be. The app is just called Sky. It may have another subtitle or something to it. Absolutely. I mean, I spent a really small amount of time with it, and it's fine, but I haven't felt like I wanted to go back to it. It has the same kind of beats in terms of how they're looking at its tone and things like that as Journey. You are a character which can't say anything. Journey, the character, can kind of sing a little bit. In Sky, you can sort of chirp, and it's a much more community-driven multiplayer sort of game. So people inhabit this world, unlike Journey, where you make maybe one person on that level. We might meet two people on level, one kind of runs ahead of you and finishes, so another one loads into sort of what you're doing. And in Journey, that worked very, very well and very, very seamlessly. With Sky, you see kind of almost like ghosts floating around, and you kind of have to give them an offering. They then accept it and become the other, they are other characters, they are other people playing. So you can link up with people. And what I kind of found interesting is that whilst it's very similar to Journey, it's kind of that platformer. You're jumping up and floating around different areas, collecting stuff to make your cape a bit bigger so you can jump and fly a little bit further. Some areas are locked off, and I'm thinking, okay, makes sense, it's a mobile game, they want me to go and do something else, they want me to come back, and all of these sorts of things. But I linked up with another character very early on. You can do emotes with them, you can kind of express yourself to them, but you can also hold hands. So this other character held their hand out, I grabbed their hand. They were then able to pull me through any of the locked off barriers to me. So I could go to areas that I shouldn't have been able to go to, and basically meet the little characters that are kind of made of stone and release them so they could be spirits and all of that sort of stuff when I shouldn't have been able to. And I think that actually put me off it a little bit. I'm just like, no, I've jumped through a bunch of stuff I should have progressed through. I haven't had to follow kind of how the game should work. I've just been able to go and explore all of these things, and I've gone down into these deep caves, and there's some lovely lighting and all of these sorts of things. And then I've gone up onto these bigger kind of open plains and done some things. But it's the same thing over and over again. It's just, here is a character, you can give them an offering, their spirit will then take you through a few stages, you follow them, there's a small cutscene, that then maybe opens up the next area, or just grab someone's hand and let them take you right to the end and not worry about it. Like,
Did you get any overall meaning from the game? Any message? Because Journey is very much like life and death and being reborn. And
it does feel like there is that in there, but I think experiencing stuff that was locked off to me maybe made me miss kind of a build up to that, or whether it's a race that are now extinct and I'm seeing kind of like the downfall of them, or something like that. I've missed a chunk of stuff, which it didn't make the stuff I did experience kind of out of context. I understood sort of what they were trying to do, but it just felt a bit sort of rushed, I guess. It's kind of like, hey, here's this, hey, here's this, hey, here is this, let's just get you through it. And that may be good intentions, that the game opens up maybe when you get hit to a certain point or something like that, that people are trying to... Because I met this other person very early on in this experience, and they were, I was the default kind of character model, and they were completely different. They had a mask, they had a guitar strapped to their back, they had a different outfit, so they'd obviously played quite a lot. And they took me through to the area where you have this kind of hub where you can change all of those sorts of things. But they'd obviously played enough that they decided to go back to the really beginner level and then take someone through it. Whether that is just a purely altruistic act, who knows? Who knows why? I don't. I haven't explored it enough to know, but I haven't wanted to either. I haven't gone back to it.
I'd love to know what the reception I wish game developers and publishers were just a bit more open and transparent with numbers and stuff like that, because I remember listening to an interview with Genova Chen, who's the lead of that game company, and it's oh, we want to make a journey for like, mobile devices, because we live in, a world where literally everybody owns a mobile device, and then like the footprint of how many people could play it and how accessible it would be, and how, as you say, it's a multiplayer community, how populated those worlds are and stuff like that. And it's like, I haven't heard anything about this game. It's like, especially someone who does pay attention to like the mobile space more than most people, but I'd love to know what the numbers are like, if people are still playing, if it is still populated and stuff like that.
So
critical reception is outside of mainstream games for us, from people. You don't really get a gauge of that just from looking at like iTunes reviews or on the store and stuff like that.
Well, it's an interesting one because I think it was an Apple exclusive game for a while. I think this game released last year, was Apple exclusive for a while, and has only released on Android this year, in the last month or maybe 2 months, something like that. So it kind of popped up like, oh yeah, oh, is it? Oh,
yeah, they said it's going to come to like PC and consoles at some point. Yeah, so I wonder how it does that.
Yeah, be similar to Project Orpheus in seeing how that jump is. Is there kind of better controls? Is it expanded in any kind of way? Can they tap into, we were talking, as Aadil was sort of mentioning, that sort of sweet spot in terms of it not having to do much versus it being able to do a lot. So it would be interesting because currently Sky doesn't look as good as Journey. It absolutely has the same sort of vibe to it, but it is and does look like a mobile game, I would say, in comparison to Journey, let's say.
I mean, that's pretty damning considering how old Journey is.
Journey's like 8 years old now?
Well, Journey's a PlayStation 3 game, isn't it? So, yeah.
Did you play with touch controls?
Yeah, so it's basically like you're using an analog joypad. Bottom left corner, or my left thumb was moving the character around. My right thumb was swishing the screen to move the camera. You're tapping sort of the center of the screen to do these different emotes or to jump, things like that. So it does use those touchpad controls, but it does feel like it would have been better on a pad.
Yeah, because I remember them. Like, I remember seeing that it was like, that interface and that control scheme that I absolutely despise, and especially small screen, big hands. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
So I was like,
small screen, big hands sounds like a regular.
Next podcast.
Yeah.
So when they said it's coming to consoles and stuff like that, I was like, okay, I'll play there. And I guess I don't know if they have integrated gamepad controls in the game, because now you can just via Bluetooth just easily attach a Xbox gamepad. It's funny because when I was what a world we live in. I was looking at the Apple website when I was looking for that Apple TV, and they sell on their store the Xbox gamepad, and I was like,
do they?
It's in their store amongst everything else. I was like, wow, what a world we live in, eh?
Interesting that they haven't delved into that space yet.
Yeah, but I think, they're obviously taking commission because I think it's £10 more expensive, £5 or £10 more expensive than on Microsoft's website.
Right, of
so
course.
They're like, so maybe they're just like, we don't have to do any of the work of R&D, development, production. Microsoft will take a bit of that cash, though.
Are they? Is it a special white one that they're just ordering through Design Lab and then sending to you?
That's why it's more than £5 more.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a white one. Interesting.
Good. Right. Are we ready for more beers?
Yeah.
I am.
Good. Right, Lucy. What are you going to start? What are you going to drink next?
What I'm going to continue on, my friend, is It's called On Reflection, and it's from Oh Brother Brewing. It's an IPA. It's got Azaka and El Dorado hops in it. It's 6.4%. And they say it's part of the Off the Wall series. And there's a face.
Michael Jackson based?
Yes, and I hope it's a thriller.
Hey.
Only people from the before time
Yes.
will get those jokes.
more of our 90s fucking
None of the
callbacks.
Coronials.
Coronials, eh? Oh, that's heaps.
Does it give you much info? What's in it? What's going on with it? What's it saying?
Just Azaka and El Dorado hops. That's all they've said.
Okay.
Nothing else. The art is by JMK. Not sure who that is, but it's a nice little face on the front. Yeah. Oh Brother Brewing. I don't think I've ever had a beer from them.
No, nor I. Not that I remember.
And whilst I crack it open and we discuss your beers, I'm going to actually see where they're from.
Cool. I'm going to drink Paying the Price for My Smooth Ride, which is a collaboration double IPA from Wylam and Finback.
Ooh.
It's been around for a little while. I was looking for a best before date on it. I think it came out maybe 3 or 4 months ago. The beer shop that I bought beers from just happened to have some still. So as I thought I'd missed it, I picked one up. So yeah, it's a double IPA from Wylam and Finback. It is 8.8%. It tells me that the hops are Citra BBC, Citra Cryo, Sabro T90, and Brew 1 BBC. That is everything. Although there is a little logo on the back saying 2020. Well, it doesn't quite show 2020, but that is what it signifies. 2020 vision, celebrating 20 years of brewing independence. Have Wylam been around for 20 years?
I didn't know that. Wait,
That's
who are they collabing with?
Finback.
Maybe it's Finback.
Yeah.
Who knows? I'll crack
Also
it
check
open.
that.
Yes, more Googling to do. Aadil, what are you going to drink?
I'm having this beer. It's the Northern Monk Fieldwork collab, Eternal Sunshine Double Dry Hopped IPA, 5.5%. It's a lovely sort of teal and yellow can, looking like kind of like a sunset. You got a surfer and like a Westphalia Volkswagen camper van. A really chill. I figured we're in the summer now. I should have something that looks summer. It is, according to this badge, it is light, citrusy, and refreshing. Brethren number 33. So it's got collab with Fieldwork. It's California's sun shining over the north. It's Mosaic, Citra BBC, and Comet. Brethren number 33, canned in the north with Reese Falk. I played Jesus in my year 4 school play. Yeah.
Very good, Reese.
If you aren't familiar, there's... let's see if I can get this. Oh, I finally turned... I forgot I turned off autofocus. Now I wanted to use it. Fuck me. Anyway, they've got this, like, this guy did the canning. Here's a silly quote. Which I kind of like. I think... we could do with a little more humanizing and information about the people who actually work at these things. I really like that trend.
Should do that with games as well.
Nah, fuck them.
Okay, I find out a lot of things. Oh Brother Brewing are from Wicklow Island. Finback have been around since 2011. And it is Wylam who've been around for 20 years.
Wow.
I had another revelation when it said founded in 2000, and then I realised that was
no, don't say that out loud.
I was like, oh, they've only been around like 10 years or something. And it's just like, nope, that was 20 years ago.
Jesus Christ.
I have to say one thing, though.
Turn of the century brewer.
I've really been thrown off. So... sorry, folks who are audio only. here is clearly the front of the can. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
it says Northern Monk. It's got the label, blah blah blah. But just look at where the tab is in relation to that. So you open it over here.
That's the Instagram beer. So no, that's a TikTok beer. You crack it.
Yeah. So you like crack it, and you're like, "Look, everyone, I'm drinking this, but you can see it." Oh wow! I poured it, then I looked back at it, and I'm like, "Wait, what?" Now I'm super curious whether
It's almost the same.
Whether Northern Monk does this with all of them.
Mine's at like a 38-degree angle, so they just put
their
label on wherever.
It's like it's clearly a sticker on a tin, right?
Yep.
You can tell that they just sort of slap it on because here's the Buxton, and then you're like, oh yeah, it's like 25 degrees. Not really either. For some reason, having it like almost 180 degrees just wigged me out something fierce. And you're right, it probably is just a coincidence. In the same way, this was a few degrees off of the front. This is a lot. They probably don't care, and it might be a person doing this for all we know versus like a machine.
No, the TikTokers have infiltrated craft beer now. There's no going back.
That's it. There's one person on the canning line ensuring that every can is at that exact angle when it hits the label machine.
Now I'm going to try and see if I can take a picture of this for the Instagram that shows it off.
You do that. Lucy, how's the beer?
It's very good. Very, very hazy. Nice. Almost orange colour to it, light orange.
Looks thick.
Dark straw. Yeah, it does. Probably looks a bit more... It looks thicker than it actually tastes.
Okay.
It's actually... I'd say it's medium bodied.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not too viscous. But yeah, it's got a nice amount of heft to it. Nice, like citrusy, hoppy, getting a nice bit of piney bitterness as well at the end. It's just really well balanced, and yeah, I like this.
Nice.
I'm not going to last for long, but yeah, this is like what I want from... I mean, they just call it IPA. This is very much like New England style. It's got like a lot of fruit, it's still got that pininess at the end, but yeah, it's very hazy, very... Not heavy, but it's got that body to it, which is nice. This is really good.
Good.
It's like an El Dorado. Don't usually see that as a pairing. Just those two are their own, but they're onto something here. These Irish. It's really, really good.
Good.
What I like.
Definitely now a brewer to look out for and pick up from. Good.
This is what they're doing for IPA. I want to see what else they do with other styles. Or if they just do IPAs like North. Practically. Just my nose out. And Polly's. But yeah, this is good. Very impressed.
Good. This double IPA is a double IPA. It's got a thickness to it. It has a slightly tropical, slightly dank nose to it. I mean, it's full-bodied from the off.
Yeah.
But in the flavour, you're getting that slight, those slightly more bitter, slightly danker tropical fruits. Maybe a little bit of melon, maybe some lychee or something like that in there as well. This isn't sweet. This is not sweet tropical fruits whatsoever. It is almost the opposite, and it's giving me a very heavy, a very deep flavour to it. I mean, it's pretty standard kind of colouring, little yellow, slightly orange tint to it, barely any head to it at all, which laces around the glass, but kind of disappears quite quickly. But it's very, very easy. And it does have that the only kind of sweetness it has is that boozy sort of sweetness. So you can pick up that this is a slightly heavier, slightly more alcoholic beer. I can't remember what it was. 8.8. Yeah, 8.8. I mean, it's just easy. It's just good. It's just very, very, just too easy. In fact, for that, yeah, for that percentage, it's criminal, really. I think it's as well. It's quite smooth. So, whilst it does have a little bit of a bitterness to it, whilst there's a slight kind of carbonation at the front pushing those flavours, it's just really smooth and it goes down really easily. I think this is kind of one of those beers. I don't know if it's got so it doesn't have oats in it, and the thing I was going to say is it's smooth, but it's not creamy. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times, at least I kind of associate having those oats in there with a beer which has like a creamy, it's smooth, but it has a creamy sort of texture to it. This doesn't have oats, and it doesn't have that creamy texture. It is just smooth. It is kind of just juice, but slightly more danker, bitter, tropical fruits. As I said, maybe a little bit of melon, a little bit of lychee in there, perhaps. Trying to see if there's anything else to pick out, but the sort of the piney, slightly piney bitterness kind of just rolls in really easily.
Nice. I want that right after this.
It would go very well after, I think, what you're drinking, Lucy. I think it would be very good as that third beer on the trajectory that you've had this evening.
And then go to a triple IPA and then knock out.
Exactly. Then go to the quad, mate. Go to the quadruple and you're done. Aadil, how is the Northern Monk collab?
It's so on the nose. It's despite the fact being double dry hopped. That Simcoe from Buxton, just like the nose just like flew out of the can, or rather out of the glass on the pour. This is you can still smell what's going on. Was it Mosaic, Citra, Comet? You can get those notes, but it's actually quite subdued on the nose. Like, for example, I'm like, it's not a full pint glass because it's a tin, but like nose above the area. Breathe in, get a slight citrus, almost cleaning detergent sort of citrus smell, like just something slight. The alcohol's there, the cleaning detergent's there. There's a slight bitterness. That's it.
From American Citra.
Yeah,
those are quite pungent. Usually,
yeah, which is why I'm surprised. Like, I'm wondering, like, it's double dry hopped. I was expecting kind of like a
yeah. DDH, yeah. Gosh.
It's quite so. It's 5.5%. I think I said. Yeah, it's really wet. It almost tastes thin. Kind of in comparison to the Buxton, which was 5.4%, but like had a viscosity. Kind of clung more to the tongue. This kind of. I mean, it's also like way lighter and clearly, like you can see my. It's a little hazy, but it's not like it's translucent still. It's really tasty. Let me see. Actually, has a bit of like a effervescent, almost aspartame type taste in the end.
Okay.
In the finish. It tastes kind of like what you'd expect. It's a good blend of Mosaic and Citra, but it's all really light, which is sort of where I was surprised. It's quite a light, more delicate beer than I was expecting with a TDH IPA. All the notes you would expect are there. I'm not as familiar with Comet. I don't know what it's doing, but it's if anything, the beer ends a bit sweet. But because everything is so light and kind of like even the finish just isn't that bitter. it just sort of like happens, and then it kind of all fades away, and you're left with a slight sweetness and a sense that, like, yeah, I had something kind of effervescent, kind of slightly maybe drying in the mouth, but like in the taste, but like, and I think that's just the light bitterness that's remaining, but it's so light, and it's accompanied by the sweetness that, like, you can easily just mistake it for something else. Like, it's just, I could leave this, like, I could easily nurse this beer. It's a very nurseable beer. There's like nothing objectionable about it. It just sort of sits there. There is a taste that lingers, and lingers really wet. It's a very big contrast from the other one, which sort of was a bit more in your face on the finish, and made it, even though they both have probably finished mouthfeel similarly, the taste difference is like, oh yeah, I wanted to keep going back to the Buxton, and this one's like, I kind of still taste that lingering bitterness. Now the sweetness is slowly fading, and there's something going on there with the interplay, though for like, what, 30 seconds plus, they were basically neck and neck. So it's a much more delicate beer than I was expecting for a double dry hopped IPA.
Okay, nice. It's nice that we have those. It sounds like your double IPA and my double IPA are very different.
Yeah.
And I think it's brilliant that people can take a style and just make it completely different. Styles are kind of not meaningless these days, but you can do so much with
very malleable.
Absolutely, and where is that line where a pale becomes an IPA? Where is that line where it becomes a dipper? Where is that line where it's a sour versus an IPA with a little bit of a hint to it? Like there's. I think we're quite sort of restricted almost by these beer styles, that you could find someone brews something and thinks, what is this?
What do I call this? I'll just slap pale.
Yeah.
Like with IPAs, they are very, as I said, malleable, whereas, or just ales in general. Whereas like lagers, there's not really many places to hop. It's like, if it's not like this, how many times have we had a like lager / IPA and then it's just been like, no, this just tastes like a weird IPA or something like nothing like a lager. So anecdotally, lagers are harder to brew, so
but I suppose also even in lager you've kind of got Vienna lagers, you've got Pilsners, you've got Hellers, there's a range of different things that kind of people try to make whatever they're brewing sort of fit into, I guess. Yeah. Just a random thought. I think all we need to do is just drink more beer just to ensure we know the right flavours for those styles. That's all we can do. That's what we should endeavour to do. But maybe not to anyone's detriment. Don't drink too much. It's never good. Unless it is.
Yeah. Within reason.
Within reason, yeah, absolutely. So, we're going to drink these beers. What shall we talk about next? Aadil, what do you want to talk about this week?
How would you describe that face? Contemplative? Quizzical?
Like quizzical pirate face, I think.
What was I going to talk about? I can't even remember. We was going to touch on one of the things.
Not Animal. God.
No. I actually. So this week I didn't end up streaming on Monday. I have had some sleep problems, and so I didn't get to do the sort of delve into the racial injustice bundle as much as I wanted to. But what I did do was play a fuck ton of Magic the Gathering Arena, which everyone wants to hear a bunch about.
It's been a while.
I've been sort of like in and out of that game, and a friend of mine who's doing his PhD here was just like, apparently his housemates play the card-based game, and so he's gotten into it because he's stuck with them in lockdown. And so another mutual friend was like, "Hey, this guy talked to me about this, and I know you used to play."
Oh
Talk
no!
to each other. So then we just started chatting about he doesn't he's new to the whole thing, and I just have this backlog of information like archetypes of decks, blah blah blah, and so I just went on an arena and just made up a deck, and then started playing competitive and just raced through bronze and silver. Although I didn't hit gold, well, I hit gold and then dropped out of gold and said I don't care anymore. But I did it with just whatever cards I had lying around, and then I was consistently getting beat by people who had consistency, because it's like, yes, these 3 cards work really well together, but I have 2 of this one of this one, and 1 of this other one. And then they're about to rotate from they just had the Godzilla set, literally Godzilla, they have certain monsters which you could get in boosters that were the Godzilla version of them, so Space Godzilla, Mecha Godzilla, Mothra.
Nice.
Yeah, unprecedented. Hasbro
Magic sounds cool, man.
Yeah,
Godzilla.
they're just moving into the new core set. So basically, every year there's a core set and 3 or 4 expansions. And then as they go through to be a standard deck, they knock things out. So when core set 2021 comes out in 2 days. Any card that's not also in core set 2021 that was in 2020 just is no longer standard legal, and so I kind of just started just playing a little more to be do I want to play this a little more? I got some rewards. I'm going to be able to get some free packs and stuff for 2021, and I fucking forgot how much fun it is to I have enough cards from off and on playing over the past year or so of whatever's in rotation I made a life gain deck in white that just, unless I got a really bad draw, did reasonably well, and it turns out is very close to what other people are doing, but I just didn't look at the meta. I just was I don't know these cards, and I was oh, I really enjoy this, and so I purposely made, so there's 5 colors of Magic, and then you can make dual color decks or tricolor decks or whatever. And most of the competitive ones are going to be 2 or 3 color because you get to take a little bit of each. And so I just was fuck it, I'm going to make a monocolor deck of all of them and see how far I can get with them and just rotate through. And I was right. And this is actually fun. I forgot how much I like the strategery of building upon things. And so in Arena, when you open packs, you also get wild cards that will let you to basically, if I have an uncommon wild card and I want this uncommon, I can just use a wild card and get it, which is much better than paper, where you just have to go to the store and hope they have a copy of the thing.
Yeah.
And so I just sort of I used a few wild cards to tweak a couple of my decks, because it was oh right, I see that I've now played this deck a few times. This interaction really works well. It'd be great if I had more than one of card X and more than one card Y. I'll just blah. Yeah. So I know neither of you play CCGs or whatever.
No, I do want to say, for your friend, that's probably, it's really cool that he's okay, my housemates won the war of attrition. I'm now a nerd as well.
I mean, he's a PhD student in philosophy. He lost that battle a while ago.
But now he's a magic nerd, which is a whole new level. But no judgment. I'm the biggest nerd here, probably. But anyway, I play thousands. Yeah. But it's oh, now he has. It's even cooler because it's oh, he has an expert to go to. It's I feel sorry for his wallet, but in terms of his amount of knowledge, that's cool.
They all have a 12 quid max on cards thing. Their playgroup is essentially the house, right? Yeah. So as long as they all spend just about the same amount of money, they'll actually stay the same power level. Because the biggest problem you have in a game like Magic, especially one that's this old, and if you're playing kitchen table style, where it's you own a card, you get to play the card, is there's a whole bunch of broke ass combos out there because there's 20,000 cards or something stupid like that. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have any restrictions on things, there are decks that just win within which can win on turn 1, but will reliably win on turn 3. But if you're not playing, I mean, there are also some need like really expensive cards, right?
Yeah.
And this was the original microtransaction.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
But like, if you're playing sort of with some friends, then you want to make like, at least in my experience, the last time I played regularly, which was goddamn 10 years ago, which was still after I played originally, and then took years long break. Like, even if you end up like having a better deck or like buying cards because you're like, oh, I want to try this out, and it turns out really well, like you end up not wanting to play that deck because no one wants to play against you. But also, it's not fun if you're just like, yes, I'll play you. Look, I won. I'll play you. Look, I won. Okay, how do I change this deck so that it's more fun for everyone? I mean, there are people out there who just like get their jollies up of winning no matter what. But like, I've always found it in play groups that it's like, oh, how do we make sure it's fun and competitive? But also, there's like a whole bunch of new variants, like different things. Like there's a thing called Commander, which is instead of a 60-card deck where you can have up to 4 of a kind, it's a 100-card deck, and you can only have 1 of everything unless it's a basic land. And you have a commander, and the commander is like a legendary creature, so they're usually more powerful. And you can only have cards of the colors that your legendary creature has, but then you can cast. They're sort of off out of your deck to the side. You can cast them in your without having them in your hand. And every time you cast them, you add some extra mana to make it tough. But it's like a good way to make multiplayer interesting because you can build the deck around like the unique abilities of this person. This one card, you can kind of pull from the air.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so there's just like a lot of variants, and they're starting to figure out how to, like, for not the official variants, how to put those on Arena. So there's like some weird small groups. There's Discord servers, etc., that are like exclusively about people saying, this is the format I want to play. I will find some people. So between Magic the Gathering Arena being really accessible, COVID, and things like Discord to find people so you can direct challenge them, and like, who cares? You're not getting like ranked rewards, so you're not earning like XP or whatever Magic the Gathering Arena has to like get more packs or whatever. But you can still play the game with people in a way that like is actually better than when you used to be able to go down to your corner shop, well, your like local game store, because local game store maybe had 5 people, and if they all didn't like want to play the same variant, then kind of out of luck. Now it's like, oh, everyone's stuck at home, and we're all figuring out how to play, and some of them are also figuring out how to play on webcam to play paper together, and it's just like, all right, like you can kind of, there's a whole new thing called Spellcaster, which does image recognition on cards off your webcam, so you can like kind of click through, and it has all 20,000 cards. So like you play someone, you're like, wait, what did they play? And as long as it's not out of focus or like glary, you're like, cool, that's what they played. I can actually inspect all the things. Yeah. Like, the whole thing has been really interesting. And it's like a positive move forward that never would have happened, in the before times, because while all the pieces were there to do that, people had enough, like, oh, well, I can play with the people around the corner, even if it's not quite what I want to do. Now it's like everyone has to find someone to play with, and that someone to play with doesn't have to be the guy you played with last week down the corner.
Yeah.
So, yeah, anyway.
Nice.
So I'm kind of liking it, although obviously I'm never going to go into go back to paper. Although my friend wants me to, because then I could, like, when lockdown gets a little better, which apparently is now.
It's done, mate. Yeah, it's completely over. You do what you like now. Obviously. Everyone can.
What I do what I do like about Arena is, because you can't trade and stuff, they do have the things like the wild cards that do have, like, you win like, you have quests per day that refresh that are like, play X amount of white spells, or like win X amount of games, and that gives you like the not purchasable in-game currency that you can then use to buy into like drafts or buy packs directly, which is kind of exactly what I want, because then there's like I might have to grind to like get cards, but I won't, not paying money into this, and there's a way to not pay money into it, while in like paper Magic, you're just, nope, sorry fam, buy the cards.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm kind of excited about seeing how far I can go with like not a lot of money. with this new transition.
That's the true and ultimate test, then.
Yeah.
I can imagine just like a montage of you just getting really good at Magic and like working like I don't know, a butcher and like punching meat in the freezer locker, getting your pennies and going down to the comic book store and
It's
ready and just throwing down those cards and
just laying them down as well. A little shuffle montage. Give you money, get some cards, shuffle again, punch that meat.
You laugh, but like in this like world of TikToking.
Yes. That probably exists, to be fair, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, good. I'm glad you're still getting something from this as well, because you know we must have talked about. I hate to break
it to you, but like part of it is actually having a person to talk to, even though he's playing on paper. I'm like, oh right, so like sent him the so you can export to your clipboard your deck list. So I'm like, this is a thing I made up, and he's like, wow, this is really cool. And I bought some of these cards, and so he changed one of his decks to be like he adapted. And I was like, cool.
I mean, of all people, you should get this a deal as a lecturer, but imparting knowledge is fun.
Yeah, very much. Yeah. There's also
I have no knowledge to impart, so I assume it is.
There's also to be honest, even games I lose where I do a really interesting interaction because I understand the rules, and you do this weird thing, and then the other person, because basically you have your face and their your avatar, their avatar, and you can click on your avatar and say "Oops, nice, thanks, your go, hello," and that's about it. Right? So when you do a weird interaction, because it's a stupidly complex game sometimes, where you work around, and so instead of killing one of their creatures, you manage to kill two of them because you do everything in the right order, and then they go nice, and you're like, yeah, that was nice.
Thank you for your validation.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway,
brilliant.
That's the wholesome part of the things that I.
Yes, and we will talk about The Last of Us. We'll probably spend minutes talking about The Last of Us. We did want to mention this evening has been on fire over the last week. Not in a good way, but in a good way. In some fuck. Oh, basically,
people are coming out and saying things, and in one case they're for good, but the things that they're coming out and saying is something that's very sad.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
And in another case, they're coming out and saying things that are just sad, and they're just sad.
Yeah.
Because they're bad.
Yeah.
Because those people are idiots. So.
Yes. Right. I think ultimately we've always taken the stance, just don't be a cunt. It's a good way to live.
It's not hard. It takes more energy to be an absolute dickbag. It takes more energy to say things that are out of line.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot more thought that goes into being that dick than not.
Yeah. Could just stay at home and play video games.
Exactly. And I think it's absolutely commendable to everybody coming out at this moment to out. Yes. Yeah. I don't know.
I think if specifically for people who don't know, game dev and game industry, Twitter came out and they're levying accusations at certain people in positions of power. Don't want to name names or anything like that. You can go look at that for yourself. And what you'd get from the typical Twitter response to people coming out with grievances, whether they're, valid or invalid, whether they're truthful or not, is people saying, "Oh, maybe you shouldn't do this," basically blaming the victim,
Yes.
the alleged victim, and maybe don't do that, and maybe don't,
Maybe.
in this cancel culture, like in quote-unquote cancel culture, jump on the other side of the train. Show support to the people who are coming out, but maybe research, read, listen. Don't go for the immediate response.
Yeah.
And just jump on that fire along with everybody else. Maybe, you just sit back and just educate yourself, sympathise and empathise, and don't just go for the knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah, absolutely. I think listen is the key. Is the key word there. Listen to what people are saying, and I mean we've talked about this for the last few weeks. About like Black Lives Matter, about various movements kind of going on. It's Pride Month as well. There's lots of kind of stuff that we need to understand, that we need to listen to, people's points of view. People shouldn't be just dismissed out of hand because they do not think the same thing as you, as the general consensus. Yeah. We need to listen to people and understand what they're going through, where they're coming from. And if we don't and can't put ourselves in their shoes, at least to not be a dick about it.
Yes. And more often than not, would you believe it, people say these things because they have a reason to say them. People don't just wake up in the morning and just think, you know what, let me just lie.
Absolutely.
Let me just expose myself emotionally in this way, in a way that's only going to be questioned and be harrowing, because clearly I'm just into that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't fucking happen.
Yeah, nobody likes that deference.
Completely. No one wakes up and thinks, I don't get enough shit on Twitter.
Yeah. Yeah. By somebody who happened to, like, I don't know, Pillars of Eternity 2 or something. Yeah, and it was deeply emotional for them, and you know that you're going to upset them because those two things are not really linked or intrinsically linked, but someone will find that link and find an argument against it. So.
Why are all these anime avatars giving me shit?
I know. Why are they always anime?
I don't fuck knows.
I don't like anime, but it's not that bad. Come on. It's not that bad. I don't know.
I mean...
The Last of Us.
We're going to talk about The Last of Us. We're not going to talk about... Yeah, let's not talk about all of the internet shit going on with The Last of Us. Let's actually talk about the game as well. So yes, to kind of finish this very random insert, just listen to people. Listen to what people have to say. Don't just throw... don't throw anyone under the bus by suggesting that they're not being truthful, let's say. Just listen to people, listen to what they have to say, understand where things are coming from as well, and don't just go into your preconceived notions of kind of how things are or should be.
Man who write video game good, women bad.
Wait,
just saying,
is that the right way around?
I mean, that's how they think.
No, yes, that's true.
It's like, I think the point was it's not the right way around, but it's the way that people are defaulting because they're suboptimally.
I thought he was going to say subhuman, and I'd be like, "You're right."
Yeah. Take it back.
Yeah.
I don't know why I was being tactled. Because they're ignorant, privileged point of view people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, and let's hope that this kind of I hope that people find the strength to continue in being able to speak out when stuff happens as well, and that their community and everyone around them, their work colleagues, their friends, their family, supports them in being able to do that. It's a really, really difficult thing to do, especially when you're not in a position of power to be able to do so, and that's not just a position in terms of your job description. That is a position in terms of how you are in your friend group, how you are kind of in society, anything like that. If you are not in one of those privileged sort of places, I hope that people are able to still be able to tell their story and to get some support, and for people to believe them and understand what they're going through.
Here.
So, The Last of Us 2. There's no way to segue into that at all, is there, really?
I mean, I've been waiting for that segue all episode. I'm like, I don't know if he can do this.
I couldn't do it.
Like, I think you might have been able to at some of the games we spoke about before, but then we went off to as soon as I hit Magic the Gathering, and then we knew we wanted to say stuff about political shit. It's like, unless the segue was shitty review bombings, you weren't ever gonna do that well.
Yeah. There's so much, around the game, and as it should be. Like, games do not exist in a vacuum.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's enough games that shy away from, like, oh, we're not going to be political or something like that. And this is, trust me, even though people probably say this is a political game, it's like the least political game ever. But it's just people existing in an apocalypse. A post-apocalypse where, yes, there are factions, but this has nothing to do with current politics or current government or current anything. Anyway, there has been a lot surrounding the game. I'm more interested in not what the people are saying about, I don't even want to repeat some of the things that have been saying. I'm more interested about, this game is a technical masterpiece. Like, it makes Red Dead 2, even though this has like 2 years of polish and development on top of that game, it makes it look like child's play. Like, this is okay, Red Dead's a big open world. This game is very much narrower in scope and in the environments and stuff like that. But Naughty Dog do this every time. It's second to none in terms of, like, motion capture, animations, programming, like, everything. I was joking with you two, saying that, like, at least probably 20 animators died on this project, but I imagine they probably did.
Yeah, they absolutely did. Yeah.
And programmers and engineers and artists and everything. It makes me appreciate the game a lot, because I know the human cost, but also makes me sad. It's like, did we need to go this far? Is this just a kind of... Is this us pushing the boundaries, or is this just laughing in the face of everybody else? Like, ha ha ha, look what we can do. With this money, with this time, with this unadulterated and unrestrained approach to crunch culture. Is this what we're going to do with it? And I just think... Why? Why? First of all, I don't believe this game needed to exist. I'm glad to have played it. It's one of the games that I cannot stop playing. It's one of the it feels fun to play, which I never thought I'd say that about, like, a Naughty Dog game specifically, because yes, they are fun and functional, but this is very much doing what it sets out to do in terms of gameplay.
Absolutely,
this is white knuckle, tense combat or stealth arenas, and it's just I forget to breathe in some of these things. It's like, it's that good.
It is, and it's good in the way that it also builds, even in those areas. So it's kind of similar in the first game, that it is it's kind of a narrative linear path, but in The Last of Us 2 they've opened up these areas a little bit more. Yeah,
it's sort of like the Naughty Dog, like, Lost Legacy, like, or even just Uncharted 4, like that slight open linear kind of feel to it.
Absolutely, and I find that I'll be playing through something, and I've worked out, I haven't worked out the pathing of people, but I kind of know their beats. I know where they're going through. I know where they're moving to. I do know their pathing to a certain extent, but not on a timing sort of basis. they seem to have done very well in ensuring that it isn't just man goes here, he then goes to point B, he then goes to point C, he's then back to point B, and he's then they've done really well in kind of varying that and allowing their AI to kind of to roam. And I think I really thought about that when I thought I'd cleared out all of the enemies. And then I'm moving through the environment, and suddenly that kind of that noise notification, that builds when someone can see you, that just happened again. I'm like, but there's no one here. I've taken down everybody, but I hadn't, and I just got shot. I'm like, oh no, fuck! And whilst there's tons of games where you can work out the best path through this based on the pathing of characters, of NPCs to be able to take down and stuff. This really does throw up that randomness, that suddenly things can just go to shit. And as you say, Lucy, tense is the best word to describe a lot of the encounters that happen in this. I think that's best shown with the human characters rather than the infected. I found that the infected come on a much smaller sort of scale, that there aren't maybe as many infected as there are humans, and I haven't played as far as you have, so okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I agree, like fluidity and dynamism to like the AI is it definitely makes it more real. I think this game is the sum of its parts, because at the start of the game I was like, okay, The Last of Us is like my favourite game of all time, and it's like I didn't need an addendum to that story.
Yeah. And
so I was just like, I'm playing this game, but it's like I don't need more story, and I still don't know where the story's ultimately going. I didn't know where it was going at the beginning of the game. Don't worry, I'm not going to say anything about it. But the start of the game, I was like, okay, this is just more of that, because I haven't watched like any pre-release material, any trailers or anything, so I didn't exactly know what was going to be different. So seeing that it was just the third-person stealth, like kind of almost survival horror in resource management, like scavenging for bits to craft and stuff like that, I was like, oh, it's just more of this.
Yeah.
And I think, but the more I played and I got over that, like, yes, it is just more of that. It seems like so much more than that now, because everything just adds to it. As I say, it's some of its parts, because the sound design and the animations when you're in a like scuffle, or you're scrambling away when you're running away, which you can do. It's like you can approach this game anyhow. If you can like stealth kill everybody. If you get into it, like if the enemies see you, you can just literally run away.
Yeah.
And go to the next like story beat or something like that, which you could do in the first game. But it's like this seems way more realistic, and I think that's just because of like the sound design, the animation. Like every animation is just, it looks like real life.
There's so much detail in this game, and it isn't
the way
just
like you shift gravity in your body weight when you're turning, run and stuff like that, and everything's just seamless. Like going through like a gap, you'd think it would transition into this like kind of like cutscene almost, but it's just like no, that it's just so seamless.
Yeah, it is, absolutely.
That's why it's more. I mean, the film, I almost called it film direction. The art direction, the game direction, just this filmic quality to it that makes it look and seem like real life. I think that adds to the gameplay more so than the gameplay's actually changed, if that makes sense.
Yes.
It's more the presentation around it that makes it more impressive and more tense and, stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it does very well, I think, at giving you those tense moments and giving you a slight breather, and then that might give you some story afterwards and allow you to kind of calm down and take in what they're sort of saying, or then throw you back into another encounter. I think it balances that sort of quite well, and does a good job of building you up and building you up and building you up. So you are tense and you're going through the encounters, and it's very real. And like some of those animations where you have a melee weapon and you just take someone apart with it, only then to be knocked onto the ground by someone shooting you, and thinking, I'm on top of this, I've got this, and then just, oh shit, I've now got to recover and do something. Where is everybody else? Where was this person? You know, it does really well in building those tense elements, and then just allowing you enough time to just take a breather and throw you straight back into something else, or allow you a more of extended breathing space, or throw you into a slightly different situation. It does very well.
But I like liken it to like just looking at a car crash. It's awful, but you can't take your eyes off it. You just want to keep barreling through. Yeah. And that's why people slow down on the motorway. It's like, no, keep driving.
Yeah.
I know it's horrible when you look at it, but just keep driving. Yeah, it's oppressive, and it's like, oh my god. I mean, it does that. What's funny about Naughty Dog is that they do poke fun at their own, at gaming in general, and at their own like quirks and approaches to game design and stuff like that. So it's like, you know, the characters like say like these like quips. It's like, oh, this again. Like it always is like, oh, there is no just A to B. We can just walk to this building here. It's like, no, this ladder broke or something like that. So we have to find an alternative. And it is just like, oh, okay, here we go again. Another combat encounter. Another room full of infected or something to clear out. And it knows it's doing that, but you just can't help but just like keep going. And that's a testament to the direction, the design, everything.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. And I think there's a moment that I've just had, and I won't say sort of the characters involved or where it is, not to sort of spoil anything, but I was moving through a building. Everything was sort of calm. There's a little bit of exposition, a little bit of conversation between the characters. You then move into another area which you can't move out of. It does very well at kind of pushing you into an area which then you kind of have to be in that arena for. You can't go anywhere else, apart from if you do find the exit and you're able to push through that before the enemies get to you. But I moved into this other space, had to clear out a load of enemies, started doing so very stealthily, and suddenly I was just spotted from an enemy that I didn't know that was there. It kind of went to shit, and we're shooting and shooting and shooting, killed everybody, moved through the space, got to where we would exit, and then it just opened up again, and lots of enemies flooded that area, and I'm fighting them off. Like, oh, okay, brilliant, right, let's move through this door. The game so far has allowed me to kind of have a few of these encounters in one, and just let me have some breathing room. And it does. It gives me about 30 seconds of breathing room before you're then dragged into another space to then have a slightly bigger kind of encounter. And I'm just like, oh my god, fuck! And it's just tense the whole way through. And like, I just dropped down that little bit. I'm like, oh, okay. And then I'm straight back up there again. Like, just, and it moves, like, it controls quite well. It's not the best, but it controls quite fluidly. It allows you a reasonable amount of movement whilst still feeling very realistic.
I think that's what they strive for, the realism, in terms of how it feels. But I think they're very good at masking, like that kind of, oh no, we want you to do this, and probably in this section, this is the only way you can. This is how it's going to go. Yeah. But you always feel like there's an option to either go stealthy, to go you know, halfway between loud and selfie, or just go loud, or just run away. Like, it just, maybe because I've been playing games a long time and I've played Naughty Dog games a long time, I don't know. But it's just so obvious when it's like, no, this is when it's like, slow down, stealthy, we want you to do this. It's like, no, you just, you know, run out of there. And it just seems like, it's just so seamless. That's probably the word I've come up with the most. It's just so seamless.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's fair.
Yeah.
It's crazy how technically accomplished this game is. But as I'm, you know, still coming back to it, like, Ben, you must have done a weapon upgrade at this point.
Yes.
This is probably the most egregious thing about this game, is when you're unloading the gun and you're looking down at the workbench when you're upgrading these guns. She's unloading the gun, uncocking it and everything like that, and then doing the upgrade, and then putting the gun back together, and there you go. It's not like, oh, we're just going to cut to a reverse camera and show her face, and then, you know, hide her hands, and she just, you know, doing a theatrical, oh, I'm making a weapon, or do it from behind her back so you can't actually see the work table. It's like, no. They've gone and done the, like, Red Dead 2 thing. It's like, you can see these weapons, and, like, it's very gun porny and very
It is, yeah.
excessive.
Yeah.
I was just thinking that doesn't need to be there.
She gets some oil, she rubs down her weapon a little bit. Like, yeah.
It's just like, it doesn't need to be there. It's like, how long did this take? Who crunched for this? Like, why? It didn't need to be there. The game would have been a 10 out of 10 game.
There's an early point where you're moving through the environment and someone is reshoeing a horse. And it is just the kind of realistic head flick of this horse that's, you know, slightly frustrated that it's being put through this. And I don't know, I don't know whether this man would have reshoed this horse, whether it would have just been this continuous loop of 10 minutes of him trying to get the old shoe off. I didn't wait that long, but everything, in terms of when we say that level of detail, you look at things and you believe that is what is happening. That it is that level of animation, that level of motion matches what you think it should be.
And maybe I should be happy that there's developers like this who do push the boat, and they do have that kind of resources and money and, like, just ambition and confidence to do that. But then I'm like, but at what cost? You know?
Yeah.
Bad. You know? It's like, yes, I want to enjoy this game, enjoy that it's a technical marvel, but in the back of my head, I'm just thinking those poor people and their families.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Who worked on those horse balls shriveling in the winter? Oh, no, that's Red Dead, sorry.
But outside of that, like, just looking at this from a game, I don't know why I can't do, well, I know why I can't. It's like, I just think, like, you know, I know what it's like to be overworked, believe it or not, and it's just like, I couldn't imagine, like, the stuff that they're going through working on this game, and what is a passion project as well, so you're even, like, you know, you want to do it as well, so it's like, oh my gosh. But yeah, it's just from a game point of view, it's outstanding. I don't know if it's, you know, because I'm still just thinking, it's like, surely this should have been the thing that I'm just like, no, this is my game of the year, this is the game of the decade or something for me. But I'm just like, no, and this is like, for me who loved the first game. If this game should be impressing anyone, it should be me. But I still preferred Ori and the Lupulus.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean,
that's
fair.
But it's
that's
like,
a fair take.
You know, it's like, you're doing all these things and it is a technical masterpiece, but apart from like Uncharted 2, I don't think any of the other Naughty Dog games would crack my personal top 10, like any of them. And maybe that's just me, but I'm just like, you're doing all this and yet your games are still not... Yes, they push the boundaries in like in like technology and storytelling, and even like gameplay to this extent, but package as a whole, it's like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just the wrong person. Like, maybe Uncharted 3 is somebody's favourite game ever, and
we're always the wrong person to somebody else.
Yeah. I don't know, but I, like, critically, like, you don't usually see like Naughty Dog games getting in top 10 lists.
Mm.
I mean, a lot of people look to the gameplay and stuff like that, but I think the gameplay is probably the best that they've had.
Yeah, absolutely. It is solid. It is solid in this game.
But I'm just wondering how this will do critically at the end of the year anyway. I don't know if it's got that baggage from the first game. It's like you got to really hit the story out of the park, and I haven't really looked at many critical reviews in terms of the story, but I don't know if it has done that.
We'll see, I suppose. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. It's interesting. It's like you do all this, and then are you going to get... It's like Rockstar. They do all that, and their games still don't get, like, you know, still don't get Game of the Year. Like God of War won against Red Dead. And God of War worked their staff to death as well, so what am I saying? Yes. You know, it's just...
We shall see. We shall return to The Last of Us Part 2 at a later date, when we finished it, when people have had time to finish it, and we can kind of get into
try and start
it. Hey, it'll be good to come back to it in a couple of weeks and get your kind of take on it and what's kind of going on, and then maybe there's an Out of Lives spoiler cast for everyone to sort of listen to at some point.
I'm very interested in your take, Aadil, because as you say, you haven't played the first game, so I'm wondering if the emotional weight will mean anything. And also,
yeah, I mean, that's sort of why
playing, because, you know, your gaming, not problem, but position of, like, not playing many games. I wonder if this will be the one that will get you to just barrel through.
I mean, the reason why I sort of jokingly said, "Oh, I'll just fucking play 2 without playing 1," but as soon as I said it, I was like, well, especially because the, like, preview responses were mixed, and people were sort of saying it's grueling, and like it's there was like all kinds of back and forth and attention there, and I was like, actually, I think it's best for me if I play 1 than 2, but it might be really interesting to see what it's like to play 2 without having played 1, to see how much, like, given this tension, how much that might be nostalgia goggles, and how much it is, how much of it just is like, well, you know, it's a sequel, fuck you, what are you doing, Aadil? And so, but like it is a full price game, and like it's supposed to have its own storyline, and I'm just, even if it ends up not being that fruitful for me, I think it would be interesting to see what that picture is without all the baggage. Like, I know very little about Last of Us 1. I know it's... I mean, the big spoiler for Last of Us 1 is I know those two people, Joel and Ellie.
Yep.
They make it through.
Yeah.
But I know that because I've seen a trailer for number 2. So, like, other than that, I know that there's zombies, and it was harrowing. So I kind of, I'm super curious what that will be like, where they're just people I know exist, rather than, you know, something big, like oh, I spent 15 hours struggling through the end of the world with these two people, and their tension and their blah and it's like, oh, actually, what if, like, so some people say it's kind of grueling for grueling's sake, and I feel like that it'll be easier to tell if I don't have any attachment to the character.
Sure. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, it's fair take.
As you say, the game should stand on their own, and if you, I don't know, because, like, there was one point that just was poignant for me, because it's like, I don't know, like, I know these characters, and it's like, I like these characters, and I'm more feeling for them, because I like the characters, have that history of these characters, rather than maybe that grief being warranted in the game. You know?
Yeah.
Because it's obviously wants to elicit emotion from you, and it worked. But it was from a point of view of like, I know these characters and I feel sorry for these characters.
Yeah.
Rather than I booted this game up and I know these characters for 2 hours or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And it's fair. We'll see when we return to this, probably in a couple of weeks, when we've all had time to kind of digest and everyone has had time to play with it, that we can talk a little bit more in depth about the story and kind of what's going on.
But tomorrow. I just want to go back and play it.
Yeah.
It's so long.
It's compelling, though. It's compelling. Absolutely.
Yeah, which is crazy, because like a 30-hour game is usually like, okay, is it ending now? Is it ending now? Whereas this is just like, it feels long, but that's probably because it's so oppressive.
Yeah, more likely. So we will finish there this week. Let's talk about the beers that we have drank. Lucy, out of the two you had, what did you prefer this week?
Yeah, the Puhaste Pilsner was nice. It was a very like just classic Pilsner, like lemony citrus flavour. Got those like it's like estery and bubblegum flavours. A lot of malt showing through. It was nice. Can't fault it. But it's something that I probably want to drink more of, and would definitely drink a few more cans now. It's definitely the On Reflection from Brother Brewing. It was just a solid IPA, well balanced. You're getting the fruit at the start, a bit of hoppiness and resiny flavors at the end. Had a nice bit of body to it, so it was just like, oh, this is nice mouth coating. It's full enough. At 6%, it's not too heavy though. And it, just really quaffable. It's like, not quite session, but you could definitely throw back a few of these. So, yeah.
Nice.
It's the On Reflection. On Reflection, my favourite beer was On Reflection.
Good. I think I feel similarly the bigger beer is the kind of like the better one. That the Session Pale from North was nice and was very easy. And I would drink it again. But I would reach for the Wylam and Finback collaboration straight away. I would drink more of that right now, which was called "Paying the Price for My Smooth Ride." Just full of flavour, full of interesting, different flavours going on. It kind of edged on that sort of stewed fruits, but not too heavily. You can understand that a lot of the fruit that's going into it is a little bit different. It's a little bit more bitter, perhaps. It's not quite that sort of stewy. So I think the Wylam and Finback for me just picks it this week, and I'd just drink another can straight away now. Aadil, how about you?
I think it's the Buxton Simcoe Lupulus 10 or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
The Lupulus X or Lupulus 10. I like them both. I don't know how much of the internal sunshine is just me not getting what I was expecting. A double dry hopped IPA that was just kind of light and nuanced instead of a little stronger, both in the nose and the taste. But also the Buxton Simcoe just had a lot more going on. The taste curve was more interesting. It had a more interesting finish, a more interesting taste, and the nose was like, oof, like I put it down while you guys were talking. You could smell it from a foot away. So I think it's the Buxton Simcoe Lupulus X this week.
X, go and give it to you.
Hey!
Rah, 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 rah.
Wonder if DMX is still in jail.
Probably.
Wow.
Probably. He probably got picked up on another gun charge. He probably got out of prison and then it was like,
instantly back in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's finish there for this week. If you want to chat to any of us, Lucy is at JuicyLoose9. Aadil is at the Omniarch, unless he's streaming, which is at the _ Omniarch, and I am at Nova _47 almost everywhere. We, as a trio, are at Tanked Up Cast on Instagram and on Twitter. We tweet out some stuff, chat to us, let us know what's going on. You can reach us at Out of Lives. I was going to say Network. Is that right? At Out of Lives Net on Twitter. Or you can go to outoflives.net to read lots of other articles and possibly look at some other videos that we've been putting up recently. Aadil and I both streamed last week. There's some videos up of reviews and initial looks at sort of games and stuff that you can go and take a look at. Has anyone else got anything else they want to plug before we go?
We said Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
Unfortunately, we just got a couple people jump into the Twitch right at the end. So hi, thanks for stopping by.
We're off though.
Chat. Yeah, we're off, but we'll talk.
If you want to hear a oral history of my time with Dino Crisis.
I mean, to be fair,
like 2 hours.
Yeah, I mean, if you're really interested in what we talked about tonight, and you're on Twitch, you can just check out the VOD as soon as we're done, or actually, you can probably start it now. Otherwise, you can check it out in podcast form on all of your podcatchers. Don't forget to rate and review us. And check us out on YouTube if you want to see us holding up the tins to the non-auto-focusing or over-auto-focusing cameras, as they will be. And don't forget to like, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. Ring the bell. I don't remember all the things.
All the shit.
I'm not the
all
greatest
those things.
Like, I did a good job at shelling up until...
Well.
Oh, I've done 3 in a row, and now I'm bored. And
No, you've done well. I agree.
Yeah.
It's a good point for us to say, this week we've been tanked up. Bye-bye.
Why the long face?
Hey.
May your wait.
Nope.
Ooh. May your survival be long, and may your death be swift.
Oh.
I look forward to seeing you guys all in the after times. Bye.
Bye.
And we're out.
www.outoflives.net